how long is the total quarantine period for all arrivals in the Philippines? How long will you be quarantined for? That's the question that we will answer in this video. Hello friends, this is Jennifer Terri and welcome to my channel. So how long is the total quarantine period? So whether you are a Filipino, a former Filipino, a foreign national, or a vaccinated individual, you will undergo the same protocols. Yes, that's right. You heard me. Even if you're fully vaccinated, you would still undergo the same testing and quarantine protocols in the Philippines. Let's go ahead. So to know the total quarantine period, we need to divide the quarantine period or stages into two. That is the hotel quarantine and the final destination or the provincial quarantine. Okay, so let's start with the hotel quarantine. So with the new protocol which started this February, all arriving passengers in the Philippines will undergo their COVID testing on the 6th day. Straight after you arrive in the Philippines, you go to your quarantine hotel and you wait there until you are tested. You will be tested on the 6th day. So if you arrive on March 1, you will be tested on March 6, right? And don't worry, because the turnaround of the COVID results are pretty fast within 24 hours. For some, it only took 5 hours, 12 hours. Then you wait for the result. Once your result is out, and then you apply for another document that's called a Bureau of Quarantine Certificate, which you can do so online. There is a web portal, and then you email some documents, your COVID result, passport bio page. And then after you get that COVID negative result and Bureau of Quarantine Certificate, then you're out. Your hotel quarantine is over. So how long is the hotel quarantine? So the minimum is 6 days. So if you're lucky, let's say you were tested in the morning and your result came out afternoon. Then you apply for Bureau of Quarantine Certificate same day, same afternoon. If it's fast, if it comes out within the day, then you're lucky. Only 6 days hotel quarantine. But generally, what happens is most people stay in the hotel or undergo hotel quarantine for 7 days, because there is no assurance that your COVID test and the Bureau of Quarantine Certificate will be ready within the day. So let's say you were tested on, let's say, late afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's likely that your result will be the next day after. And another concern is that Bureau of Quarantine certificate. For some people, it only took 2 hours. It was ready. But I know someone who had to wait for 10 hours for that. So generally, the hotel quarantine is 6 to 7 days. But if I were you, I would expect 7 days. The next stage is final destination or provincial quarantine. So this is at your final destination. So where are you heading to? What are the requirements or the rules of your local government unit when it comes to quarantine? So these are the questions you should be able to answer. So contact your local government unit. But actually, when you get your Bureau of Quarantine Certificate, it will actually say whether you will have to undergo or continue the remainder of your quarantine for 14 days or coordinate with your LGU. So depending on the address that you used on your quarantine forms, all the forms you filled out. So if your final destination is Manila, then you only have to continue the remainder of your 14 days quarantine. So let's say you stayed at the hotel for 7 days, then when you arrive at your home, you only have to do 7 days home quarantine. Now that's in Manila. That's in places where it's not much strict. However, in provinces, they're really strict. So when you arrive in your final destination, you let your barangay know. For some places, they would even pick you up at the port. In some provinces, a government facility is required for within 3 days upon arrival in that province. Home quarantine may be allowed later, but under strict conditions. So following a negative RT-PCR COVID result, for example. So let's have a look at General Santos. Let's say your final destination is General Santos. One of our subscribers, Johnny, foreign spouse of a Filipino coming from the UK, arrived in Jensen last Monday. And oh boy, the quarantine protocols that they have to follow is a lot. Alright, so he messaged me the other day. So in Jensen, even though if you already have a negative COVID result from your test in Manila, the rule there is that when you get there, 7 days quarantine in a facility, in a hotel, then you will be tested on the 7th day. If you're negative, they will let you out and continue the 7 days in your home quarantine. So in Jensen, they'd still have to do a total of 14 days quarantine. For example, this is also the case in Puerto Princesa. In Puerto Princesa, you'd have to undergo 7 days facility quarantine, and after that, 7 days home quarantine. If you're arriving in Davao City, home quarantine for 14 days is what required. So every province has different quarantine rules. So it pays to contact them before you travel to the Philippines, just to be aware. You know, you don't want to be surprised. Like I mentioned, our subscriber Johnny, they had to rebook their flight because of the quarantine rules that it's so long. So if it's mandatory in your area, you really just have to respect and follow their rules. If you can't follow the rules, then do not enter to that area. It's simple as that. Health authorities have invoked police powers in order to safeguard the community from the COVID-19 transmission that may overwhelm the healthcare system's ability to respond. Especially in provinces, they don't have much capacity. Their hospitals are limited too. So if ever there is a COVID-19 surge, they may not be able to handle it. Like cities in Manila, they have big hospitals. But in provinces, some provinces only have one hospital, tiny hospital. So you can understand how these LGU are so strict. So my advice, contact your LGU, the local government unit of your final destination before even traveling to the Philippines, or even before deciding to travel to the Philippines. If you're only going there for vacation, you should know the rules, the quarantine rules of your final destination. Really, if you only had 2 weeks on vacation, you have to do 6 days quarantine in Manila. And then what? Do another 14 or 7 days in your final destination. That's gonna eat up all your vacation time, friends. So that is all, friends. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate those people who really, reply to some of the messages. I appreciate that so much. We're helping each other. As we all know, Philippine travel rules is one of the most complicated travel rules that keep on changing in the world, probably. I'll see you again with another travel update. Don't forget to like this video.